everything can fall down because everything is totally fallen down. There is nothing to hold together anymore.
It's so funny talking to you. It's like talking to myself. You say the same things as I would say. I love you to bits, man. Yeah, yeah. It's lovely to see you.
Okay, thank you both for joining me, Vishrant and Swaha, for another conversation. So I have a couple of questions prepared that I wanted to go through with both of you. Looking at each of your backgrounds, there are a couple of interesting things that you both have in common in your journeys with Osho and in spirituality and in life. And one of those things is that at different points in your lives, you both had severe illnesses and near-death experiences. So, Swaha, you had really bad dengue fever at one point and thought you were going to die. And I believe also were swept out to sea by a strong current and nearly drowned. And on each of those occasions, the way I've heard you describe it is that you let go, you surrendered into whatever was going to happen in those moments. And it struck me because I think of myself in those situations, and I believe I would resist a lot. I would fight against those feelings of sickness and death. So my question is, what differentiates someone who surrenders in life-threatening situations compared to someone that might resist?
Well, I learned very early, I feel, or maybe it has always been with me, to let go, to flow with life. And I think I remember I tried LSD when I was very young, maybe 15 years old, 16 years old. And it turned into a pretty bad trip, and then I surrendered. I surrendered to God, to the existence, in that space, yeah? And that changed. So I had like a secret already in my unconscious that it was to let go, to surrender. And surrender is the key, no? So then when I came to Osho, and I already had this, that I almost drowned in the ocean in Sri Lanka. I had motorbike accidents. I had a scorpion stinging me that I thought I was going to die. And all those episodes had prepared me in a way. So I knew that to let go, to surrender. So when I came to Osho, I surrendered. I just said yes. So this has been with me the whole life. And when I had malaria, I had hepatitis in India, I had dengue fever. Dengue fever was the last, and that was also part of that awakening I had, because the body almost shut down, but something else came. No? When you surrender, when you give up, then the grace can come, the existence can come. You have to get out of the way. That's how it is. No? But so I feel that this has always been with me, most probably from the past, this just to let go, to trust. And then something else can come, no? Because how small are we in existence? How much can you fight, no? How much can you struggle? So when that goes, and that was a secret I saw early, no, maybe not consciously, because it was in me. But now when I look back, I see it like that.
So when you say it was with you from the past, are you referring to past lives?
Yes, yes. I think it was something that was, yeah, in my memories.
Yeah. So how would one learn that? If that's not the case for someone in this life, they don't have surrender naturally with them as a gift from, past experiences practicing surrender. How do you learn surrender?
By suffering. You have to suffer then, no? Like Buddha says, life is suffering. Yeah? Life is suffering because you are identified, you are struggling, you are separated, no? And then the next he says, but there is a way out. Yeah? There is a way out. And the master Buddha will show you, the masters will show you that. So most people, they are stuck in that separation, yeah, which is struggling, because you have to make it against the whole. So that's why life is suffering, but life is also bliss. Yeah? But for most people, it has to go through suffering to come to that. The struggle, the journey as such. Yeah. So I guess it's only by that is the whole sadhana. That's the whole spiritual journey, from darkness to light, depending on that person, because everybody has different karma, different maturity. How much suffering, and majority of humans, they are not even into that, no. Does that answer?
It makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense that one has to suffer in order to learn surrender.
Yeah, it depends all on the maturity of the seeker, I think, or the person, because like when you come in contact with an enlightened one, then maybe something gets stirred in you, something gets awakened that you didn't find. That's how it was for me. I was looking in the world, but I didn't find. When I met my master, then I felt, now I found it. Now I will stay. Now I will learn. Now I will absorb. No? But if you don't have that, if you don't have a guide, how will you learn? No? That's the grace of the master.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So then,
Yes.
depending on the spiritual seeker or the sannyasin or the meditator, depending on his maturity or where he is in himself, how much it is to clean up, to understand, depending on that is easy or difficult. It can short or it can take very long time. Nobody knows. It's not in our hands, no?
Yeah.
Enlightenment is not in our
Vishrant,
hands.
yes. Vishrant, you've had very similar experiences to Swaha in this regard, because you've had hepatitis C, really bad liver damage, and chronic fatigue, not really able to even get up and do normal things throughout your day. You've had an experience where you were circled by sharks for hours in the ocean after your boat capsized, and were very lucky at that time to get away with your life. And you were similar in the sense that you let go in those situations, the same as Swaha did. So I'm curious, is it also your experience that there was something in you already in life that knew that surrender was the way, and knew that were already practiced at surrender?
Look, I think that's quite possible that it was carried from previous lives. But in this life, I did train myself to surrender to death. When I was 12 years old, I used to dive with aqualungs because I got my certificate when I was 10, and I used to dive in shark-infested waters. Every time I went into the water, I allowed the sharks to eat me. I wouldn't resist, because if I was going to resist, if I served fear, I wouldn't go in the water, because fear would overcome me. And so I allowed myself to be eaten by the sharks. At about the same time, this idea of let go, because I was examining fear, and I was seeing that the reason that people don't, including myself, let go is because they're frightened of something. They're frightened of the unknown. And at that time, I was also being trained in Kung Fu, martial arts, full contact. And my teacher would teach me to go in to the fight with my arms down, not in a defensive position, but in a surrendered position. And I did. I would go into every bout, I had probably 400 of them, full contact bouts, arms down, totally undefended, totally open, totally vulnerable. It's like a death. But the thing is, from that position in martial arts, you are extremely quick because you're extremely relaxed. And so I learnt to let go in diving in shark-infested waters, and I learnt to let go in martial arts training, which I did probably every day for 14 years. And in learning to let go, I was also examining how the mind worked. Why was it holding on? Why would it not do something? And I started to examine fear very closely. And fear is the worst master you can have, because it'll have you not do. And so I began at that age with an unwillingness to serve fear. An absolute unwillingness to serve fear, which allowed me to have so many wonderful adventures in this life that were scary but brilliant. I was able to squeeze the juice out of life because I didn't hold back because of fear. I surrendered to the fear. I surrendered to whatever it was that could happen. I made it okay. And so I lived this life with many adventures, because when you don't serve fear, it's almost like you become fearless. And in that fearlessness, you truly live.
I imagine your martial arts teacher, when he was teaching you to go into the fights with your hands down, he was doing that for a reason. Like it made you a better fighter to fight with your hands down. Is that right?
It relaxed me. And in Kung Fu, it's really a dance. It's not like karate where you're taking solid positions. In Kung Fu, it's a flow, it's a dance. And if you're not relaxed, you can't flow. And so in being surrendered to possibly getting hurt, possibly getting killed in a fight, in being surrendered to that, you stay in flow. And when you're in flow and dance, you can move backwards and forwards very easily. So in a lot of ways, Kung Fu training for me was the art of not being hit. Because if someone hits you when you're in flow and you're moving backwards, well, the punch doesn't hurt. And so I was taught the art of not being hit. But I was surrendered in it. If I did get hit, if I did get beaten, I was okay with that. If I did get physically hurt or even killed, I was actually okay with it. I made it okay because I wasn't prepared to serve the fear of being hurt or serve the fear of being killed, because I knew that would cripple me. And I wasn't interested in being crippled. So I practiced, and that really, really did, in lots of ways, prepare me for a very interesting future.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. So you were, the two of you were quite similar in the sense that surrender was important to you, and it was clear that it was important to both of you. There are some differences between you, some quite stark differences. So, for example, Vishrant, as a personality, you're very disciplined, very total with what you put your mind to, and you're a high-level businessman for many years. And in contrast to that, Swaha, you're more of a free spirit, as I understand. Hippie type, money was never really important to you. You like to float around at the beach or in the forest and didn't like the cities much. So I'm curious about the difference there, because those two could be seen as opposites in one sense, and you could say, well, how can they both be so successful in spirituality, if you want to use that word, successful? You both woke up. So given that the two personalities that you have are so different, does that mean that personality has nothing to do with whether a seeker can reach the ultimate or not? Swaha, can I ask that question to you first?
It has nothing to do with awakening, because as I see it, the personality is something that you want other people to see you as somebody. Yeah, so it's not real. No, it's like a mask. Persona is a mask, and most people, we have many masks. No, you are different with that person. You're different that person. You're different in situations. No, so the personality has nothing to do with the awakening as such, because the awakening, then your true individuality comes, which is your essence. But to live your individuality, you have to be fearless in a way. So I never thought that I was like fearless, but I was just going with life, whatever was happening, because this call for freedom has always been with me. So fear was not even an issue, because whatever life situation brought to me, I faced it. No, I was always a free, wild spirit. So the personality has. That's how people get stuck, because they have these different images of even enlightenment. No, but I mean, look at, for example, Osho and Ramana Maharshi. Can you get a more different view, like when you see on the form, Osho with his Rolls Royce and gold and watches and diamonds, and Ramana sitting in his little, yeah? It's like that. Or Rumi dancing, Buddha just sitting there. So that has, the personality goes, and that's why me and Vishrant can also communicate, no? Because it's just the heart, it's just the essence, no? And also we have many similarity, like Kung Fu and martial arts is a lot in my past also. Yeah, so it's many things, but that is more the essence. It's nothing to do with how you function in the world or what role you take on. We all have different gifts, no? I was always just a free spirit, so I would never, ever think that I would sit here doing this, for example, and have 1,000 people around me. I could never believe that, like I even resisted that, no? I wanted just to be in the Himalayas. So it says nothing. The personality is something that people have when they don't live their authenticity, when they don't have the individuality, And if you are really finding your individuality, then you have to stand up to the world. You have to be a rebel, The persona is easy because you can change it, you know. It's false, the way I see it, you know. If you don't have the real, then you wear your false, a persona.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things you said in there, authenticity and essence. And authenticity, I think, is one of those words that people can interpret in different ways. And I'm curious as to what you mean by authenticity and what you mean by essence.
Well, to find your essence, you have to let go of your personality. Yeah? Because that is false. Your essence is right. So when I say essence, that is more your true self. Yeah? When you awake to your true self, that is your essence. You live your essence. There is nothing between you and the whole. There is no blinders, you know, there is nothing in between. So you are clean. Yeah? That is your essence. You live your essence. And that is also with, what was the other you said? Authenticity. So that's the same thing in a way. You are authentic. When I say you're authentic, then it's not a personality, it is your essence. Yeah? Like, that can come true, which has nothing to do with your ego or your personality or your beliefs. All that has to be gone to live your essence, to live your authenticity, to be authentic human being. No? That is the rebel. The true rebel is a spiritual revolution in a way. No? That you can just live who you are. You don't care what people say or think or anything like that, which I never have done anyway, but most people have problems with those things, no? Yeah? And that's what keeping them down. That's what keep people down, because they are too, what other people think about them. Other people that is totally asleep also. So to find your authenticity, your essence, you have to break free. You have to stand up. You have to find yourself, which is difficult because you have to stand on your own, no? Which is very difficult if you don't have a guide, a master again, you know. That's why the master is the most precious. Like when I met Osho, then it's like, oh, hallelujah, at last, now I can relax. I have a guide, you know. I have an authentic man.
And Vishrant, what do you think personality has to do with awakening?
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Any personality that's willing to surrender can support enlightenment. The deal is unconditional surrender. It's about the only thing that you really need to learn. There isn't anything else. The problem with learning it is that it's a non-doing. And the only way that I discovered that you could get to unconditional surrender was by accepting everything as it is and letting go of everything that you're holding on to. And in the practice of let go and the practice of acceptance of what is, finally the mind starts to surrender, which is a non-doing. And in that non-doing, it is easy for that is aware to turn onto itself and become aware of itself. While we are resisting life, that's almost impossible. And so for the ultimate accident to occur, the mind has to be in a state of relaxation, which is brought about by unconditional surrender. Then self-inquiry can be used, or the presence of an awake teacher can be used to turn awareness back to itself. The work, if you want to call it work, is teaching the mind to let go, teaching the mind to accept life as it is. And That's a task and a half. That is very difficult because the mind is a survival mechanism. It doesn't want to let go. It wants to control everything. And you have to let go of control. You have to let go of trying to make it your way. There is only one way, and that is truth's way or God's way. And the deal is really simple. Everything for God or truth or beingness, whatever you want to call it, and nothing for you as an I. It's an unconditional surrender to truth. And in that unconditional surrender, there's a very good chance you'll die as an I. It'll just drop. What a relief for it to drop. The problem has finally gone. And usually it'll resurrect itself for a while. And for me, it resurrected itself for about a year, because I went to a lot of satsangs and I'd find beingness as self. I'd find myself as the vastness and the nothingness without an ego. And then after my teacher left or I came out of satsang, I'd find myself back as a somebody who had been somewhere, who was going somewhere. But after a year, and in the presence of an awake teacher, I was finding myself as beingness without an I. And they went away the next day, and the I never came back. 24 years ago now. Just nothing here. Just ordinary. Nothing here. No problems, no thoughts, nobody. And so there's talking, but there's no sense of somebody's talking. There's a movement of the hand, but there's no sense of anybody moving the hand. It's all gone. It's all automatic.
And the mystery is,
Go ahead, Swaha.
the mystery is that you cannot surrender. That is also happening. You can practice, yeah,
Yes.
but when the ultimate happens, it's for me, it's like
It's an accident.
it's a terrible accident.
It's an accident. It's an accident.
Because
It is.
and it's such a shock, because you really disappear. But I think I have a feeling that it cannot happen, that surrender or that ultimate let go. You have to be receptive for that, you know, so that can be transmitted into the body, because it's too vast. So how that happens is a mystery, you know. But when it happens,
I don't know either.
it's a total shock. So you have to learn again. It's a long, like I feel, it's a long journey there to get to that innocence again, where you let go and surrender, and the grace can come, but the vehicle has to be ready for that.
Yes, absolutely.
And then you have to train to become somebody again from a space of nobody. Like train to become a human again.
So after awakening, I sat still and stared into space for 6 months because I was gone. And one of my teachers came and said, hey, you've got to come out. And so I learned how to be a human again. I learned how to blink again. I learned how to look away. I learned how to talk with people, and I learned how to pretend to be somebody.
Yes.
So I could be effective as a teacher to help people get free. But there is nobody here, and there is no human here. Pure beingness is what you are, I am, and everybody that's listening to this is.
This is just so great.
Yes, this is so great. There is nothing more beautiful than what we all are. To the mind, to the mind. And so this mind here rests in beingness, profoundly content for no reason. It just rests in beingness. If I want to get things done, I use the other people to do them because I don't have any motivation anymore. I am profoundly content with everything falling down. I don't mind. But other people still have ego-based reality happening and they're discontent. So I can use their discontentment to try to get things done. Until, of course, they wake up and then they're going to have the same problem. Because it all goes. There's just nothing left.
Everything can fall down because everything is totally fallen down. There is nothing to hold together anymore.
It's so funny talking to you. It's like talking to myself. You say the same things as I would say. I love you to bits, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we got destroyed in different ways, but we got destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got hepatitis B and nearly died, and I just surrendered to it, surrendered to the death. And there was such liberation in that. It allowed me to learn to run on what I called empty, which meant doing the least amount of effort and get the most amount of result. And so ever since then, which was 40 years ago or something, I've been running on empty. The least amount of effort to get the most amount done, which allows me to be very relaxed, and it allowed me to be very relaxed towards enlightenment, because I wasn't constantly doing, I wasn't constantly putting the effort in. I was actually learning to be what I call cool, calm and deadly. So hepatitis B was a very big gift for me. It taught me how to be a different type of person in the world. It taught me how to be a hippie. Because up until then I wasn't.
Well, that is we have many similarities, and this hepatitis, it learned me also a lot about surrender or let go, because you have to. And when I first came to Osho, Bhagwan in those days, he looked more like the picture you have there.
Yeah.
Then I got hepatitis, no? Which most of the ashram did in those days, because we went to drink mango shake from the street and chai from the street and like this. No, it wasn't so proper. No, it was more wild. This was in late 70s. No, and I got hepatitis, and I just have to lay there for a month and looking at the geckos in the ceiling and drinking sugarcane juice, which my Indian friend said it will clean out. And it was a total let go at that time, you know. For me, it was one of the best groups we did. And I remember Osho, it was so many who had hepatitis that Osho once said in discourse, I can't promise you enlightenment, but hepatitis is pretty sure. Yeah?
I was so sick, I couldn't move.
Yeah, it was a big part of the journey, just to accept, to let go, to be still.
Yeah.
You could not escape.
I just had a child born, and I had to let go of that as well, because I didn't think I was going to be there to be the father, because my life was ebbing away with liver damage.
Mm-hmm.
So I got my mattress put in the center of the lounge room, and I put a pyramid over it, and I just stayed there for about 6 months, just in the center of the lounge room, under this pyramid. And slowly but surely I got well enough again, but it was touch and go. They were talking about liver transplants, and I wasn't about to do that. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. The life is amazing. It gives you what we need, no? And in those days, we didn't have any cell phones or computers. So for me to lay there in those days, it was absolutely doing nothing. And it was so painful just to go to the bathroom. It was, you just lay. I learned a lot about geckos in the ceiling. That was about it, you know, and just following my breath. So in a way, It was a Vipassana training. And that is the
I understand.
This is the difference when you are on the spiritual journey or when you have a master as a sannyasin. Then you can turn everything in to meditation, no? Instead of fighting it. Ordinary people, they fight it, no? They want to be good. They don't know that secret of let go.
Surrender. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is what I teach. I teach people let go, surrender, acceptance of life as it is, because there's nothing else to teach, really. Enlightenment or that happens, it's an accident that happens, and if your mind is ready for it, will support it. If it's not ready for it, it won't. So you and I think we do the same work.
Yeah, of course. It is only one work, yeah? It's the master's work, it's all the master's works. And that's when you surrender to that, then you get the support of all those also. So it's fantastic.
Yes, that's what happens here too. From my perspective, I'm doing my master's work.
Of course. Because who is the master? It's the same.
There is no such thing. Well, it's like we're all beingness. There's, it depends where you look.
It depends on what level we talk.
Yes. Yeah, sometimes I think that, because I teach people how to be adults, I teach them maturity, because a lot of people don't take responsibility for themselves and resist life because they don't. And so sometimes I think that I'm teaching kindergarten, because this is something that really we should have learnt with mum and dad. But in today's society, a lot of people, particularly in Australia, men and women are not mature. And because they're not mature, they're constantly resisting life, and they're not ready for higher consciousness because they're in lower consciousness resisting life, being victims of this, victims of that. And so trying to talk people into not being victims, that's an arm wrestle. I'm a total fatalist. Whatever happens is meant to happen. There's no mistakes.
Yeah, that's how the work is when we are a vehicle for. You have to work on all levels. That's the new art, no? You cannot just have one teaching because everybody is unique.
Yes. Yeah, no group recipe. There's a recipe for every single person who comes, and that recipe is unique to that person. And so I absolutely love what I do, and I love people. And so I do my best to trick them into surrendering. I've done a lot of work with Maitreya. Osho used to set up what he called devices. And these devices were in place so people could learn to let go, learn to accept. I think that's what he was up to. And it works. You set devices, people get caught, then they have an opportunity in the field of energy that is around someone who's awake to let go and learn unconditional surrender, which is a non-doing.
Yeah, and when people have a taste of let go or surrender, then they are hooked.
Yes.
Because it's too good.
Yes, I was hooked, absolutely hooked.
And if they haven't tasted that, then they are functioning on a different level. That's when you become a devotee or a disciple or a true student, no? When you have tasted that, because then you know that this is I have felt it. So that's a new beginning then. To deal with those that hasn't tasted it is so much more work, no? In the victim role.
So true.
In the victim role.
in the victim role. Osho, after being with Osho, I started having satori's, and I was so grateful to what he had shown me, so grateful. I used to be in tears of gratitude because he had shown me that there was another way to be here. Something I could never repay him for, not a possibility.
So I want to ask you now about the current organization in Pune. So Osho left the body in 1990, and there's a new power structure in place in Pune now that's running courses and meditations and different things there in Osho's name, Osho International, I believe it's called. And I've heard you both talk about it in the sense of the ones there who are actually awake, or the ones that wake up in that organization, are treated like outsiders, like threats. So that's interesting to me. Why would an organization that is based on the teachings of an awake master and is celebrating and supporting enlightenment in people, why would that organization then turn against those who wake up?
Yeah. Okay, so I have opinions about this because I'm not welcome in Pune. Because I think I'd probably be a threat to the authorities there. And it was quite clear to me when Osho passed that I either had to find a new master or give up on enlightenment, because he had clearly stated that if he did leave his body, that we should find a new master to be with. And so for me, when the Advaita Vedanta teachers came to town, something like 8 years after he passed, it was like I walked into the room and awakening occurred again, just in the presence of one of these awake Advaita Vedanta teachers. And to me, it was like the chance had come back, because I'd surrendered for 8 years the possibility of enlightenment, absolutely surrendered it and chose a way of the heart to live. But when I found myself as the universe again, in the presence and nothing but heart, in the presence of these awake teachers, it was like the fire just grew so strong in me. The thirst was so strong in me to do whatever was required to get free. And so I'd spend as much time as I could in satsang with my teachers, and I looked at anything that contracted my mind or caused resistance in my mind, and I undid it. I undid whatever belief system supported it. I just started stripping myself down to nothing and finding those beautiful spaces in satsang where I wasn't, and letting go, letting go, letting go, surrendering to the Buddha field and dying in the Buddha field over and over again until it basically stayed. But that was an accident. You can't make enlightenment happen. It's an accident that either happens or it doesn't happen. The day after, when my teacher had left and I was finding myself gone, and there was still vast space as self, my mind was surprised. It was shocked. What had happened? The one who thought they were somebody wasn't there. The future didn't exist anymore. The past didn't exist anymore. The old Vishrant was gone. And for days and days after, every time I woke up in the morning, there was this surprise. There's nobody here. It's gone, it's gone, it's gone. And so I decided to support it, my mind did, by sitting still. And so I sat still for about 6 months, just staring into space, blissed out to the max, until basically the Advaita Vedanta teacher came and pulled me out and said, you've got to actually show this light to other people, not hide it. And during that period of time, My wife left me, my kids got taken away, I lost my money, I lost all my reputation. Everything left and nothing touched. It was all okay. My wife did come back, she did bring the kids back. And I started making a little bit of money on satsang, holding satsangs, but it just didn't matter anymore. I was free. I was gone.
So, Swaha, I wanted to ask you about the present day organization in Pune. Why would that organization be threatened by awakened ones?
Because they are not awake, they are asleep. And it's an organization, so it's a business, no? And I don't really care. I think it's a pity, because I know for all the Indian sanyassins, they would love to go there, and it's not easy. It's not easy now, because it becomes more like a meditation club. But when Osho left the body, I was wondering already what I should do. You know, it was finished for me when he had left. So it took 1 year, but only 1 year after he left his body, I had an awakening there, and almost died. And I was in the ashram, I was involved with the ashram, I was leading groups, I was very involved. But nobody understood. I didn't even understand what had happened. I just knew that something had totally shifted and I couldn't do what I had done before. But nobody in the ashram understood, except for a few Indian sannyasins who had been with Osho since the 60s, 70s. So that was my support. The only one was Osho, who I felt understood, and he had left the body. So you are totally alone. So even in the ashram, they don't understand because they are asleep. They're just like everybody else. And so it became more, the way I see it, to keep it, how to make money. Which is totally fine. For me, it's totally fine, but it's a pity that people cannot just go to the beautiful samadhi, to the places, to Buddha Hall, to have like a holy place, no, a sacred place, which the Indians love. And I feel for my Indian friends, for the Indian sannyasins, tens of thousands of them. You know, that is painful that the Westerners, the business people, have just kept it like that. It should be open. Like you have all over India to the masters. You have a beautiful place in the samadhi, in the gardens, in the temples that they built for them. That would be beautiful, but they have focused on this. It's almost like going into Israel, you know. It's so much security and so much things and tests, and so, and of course they don't want anybody else, because, and that is fine. We find our own way, you know. When this shift had happened for me, I had people, I was coming back to visit friends in Pune maybe in 98, 99, and people wanted me to give satsang. But I said, this is not, I don't want to feed on these sannyasins here. Yeah? I'm doing my own thing. So what they do, but as far as I'm concerned, it's just a business organization. There's nothing to do, which is a pity, because it should be an open place, no? I would go there to pay my respect, like you know, it's beautiful. But now it's the energy is gone, no? Because of how it's run, you know. When you have something so beautiful, like a master, like Osho especially, you should have really beautiful meditative loving people who takes care of it, no? It makes sense. So that makes me sad, you know. That is not. Is business. So the beauty of that is gone. That is sad. And mostly for the Indian.
It's not about enlightenment there anymore. Osho is all about enlightenment. He was about helping people find home. And I do not think what's happening in Pune is about finding home. I think it's, like you said, about making money.
Yeah. And doing some trainings.
Yeah, I think they lead people astray in that, because seekers go there looking for enlightenment and they're not going to find it there. Osho said, you go find someone, a living master, someone who's awake, go hang out with them. Not hang out in some mystery school where there's no one awake. And so I see seekers being led astray by going there because the master is not there anymore. The master is in my heart. The master is in your heart. The teachings are the master's teachings. They haven't stopped. They've just changed bodies. It's the same essence. Yeah. It's the same essence, the same beingness, the same truth. Here and here. And whoever else woke up with him. You know, and there is a radiance as a result. There is a field of energy that people can come and sit in and find themselves as being and get undone in and find clarity and find beingness. Yet they're going to Pune where there's no one who will kick their butts except for money. They come here or they come there and they're going to get shown something. Probably where they're going wrong.
And I remember Osho, he said that. He said that when I leave the body, I will be in all my sanyassins, but depending on their capacity. Depending on their openness, their surrender, their love, yeah? And then it depends on each one of the sannyasin how much they can share that, no? From their capacity. So it's like that.
The capacity is related to how far out of the way you are as an I.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if you're totally out of the way, then your capacity is vast.
Yes. I remember the satsang that he held where he talked about coming into his people if he passed and being in all of us. I remember that satsang really clearly. Yeah. It's so good. Cool, man.
Okay, I just have one last question before we finish up, because we're getting close to the 1 hour mark now. So that question's a pretty simple one. Osho used to talk about the new man, Zorba the Buddha. What does this mean for both of you?
I'm talking to him. He's there somewhere. That's Swaha. He's the new man. There's no doubt in my mind about that. That is Zorba the Buddha right there.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, brother. How are you doing, Zorba?
Couldn't be better. Well, yes, I am the new man, I am the Zorba the Buddha, that's for sure. And Osho said that this split, the way I see it also, is humanity has been so split because either they've been material or spiritual. And this Zorba the Buddha, that his vision was, is to bring those together. You should be spiritual and material. Enjoy the physical world, the material world, but be rooted in your heart, in your being, in your soul. So there is absolutely no division anymore. There is no separation anymore. And that separation has been there for thousands of years. Either you are spiritual or you are materialist. No, why not be one? When you are not one, no more division, no more conflict. Then no more conflict, there is peace. Then you enjoy. This very earth, the lotus paradise, no?
Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes, yes. I'm in Perth, West Australia, trying to teach people how to be the new man. In the marketplace, but not of the marketplace. Awake, but in the workplace still. Making a difference. Loving everybody and everything that they meet and do. This is beautiful. You should come to Perth. I love I like going shopping and dancing in the aisles, you know. So good. So good.
So good. So good. Well, no doubt. He's very happy. The work goes on. The Zorba the Buddha. His I leave you my dream. This is it.
Yes, yes. The true rebellion. Lovely to talk to you again.
We will meet again. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah. You are my own heart. I know you.
Big hug to you, Vishrant.
Big hug to you too. We are so far apart at the moment, so many miles apart. And a big hug to you too, Maitreya.
Yes. It's just hugs here. It's just love.
Love. Lots and lots of love.
Jai Bhagwan, Jai Osho.
Osho.